We're live. We acknowledge that the United States of America and Israel are settler colonial states that have embraced the erasure of the original peoples of this land through the violence of land theft, resource extraction, environmental desecration, displacement, family separation, and genocide. We acknowledge the through line of settler colonialism here on Turtle Island and around the world, and its continuing impact upon peoples and the land that Indigenous peoples have stewarded for millennia. We have benefited from that system. We live in the richest country that has ever existed in the history of the world, a history made rich by the genociding of people and the theft of their lands, a society that built its wealth upon the backs of enslaved Africans. It is an imperial system of extraction, domination, and oppression that continues to enslave Black and Brown people in the modern day industrial carceral state at disproportionate rates, fails to protect women, continues to separate families, pushes people to the brink, and impoverishes us all. We welcome this opportunity to reflect, unlearn, decolonize, and grapple with these truths, and put the wisdom that we've earned to work. Today, and for these past 10 months, we have had all eyes on Palestine. We recognize Palestinians as Indigenous peoples with an irrefutable connection and right to their ancestral land. We recognize Israel as an illegal settler colonial state that has inflicted a permanent, hostile, and belligerent occupation and apartheid, and continues to inflict immeasurable, incomprehensible violence upon the Palestinian people. At this event and every day, we demand the US government divest from death. When Palestine is free, so are we. Assalamu alaikum, bienvenidos. Hello, good evening, and welcome. I'd like to offer our sincere condolences at this time to Abed Ayub and his family. His grandmother passed away last night. To those who are attending this rally tonight and those who are tuning in on our various platforms, we are so glad that you are here. I'd like to give you the run of show tonight. We are going to hear from 22 activists, each who embody different facets of the struggle for liberation. Our esteemed guests will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and share why they believe this campaign is the vehicle for the movement for people, planet, and peace. Then Jill will have the honor of introducing her VP running mate. My name is Kelly Merrill, and I'm the Deputy Campaign Manager for Presidential Candidate and Green Party Presumptive Nominee, Dr. Jill Stein. I live a life of service, and that is my enduring directive. Journeying in community with the incredible activists who you'll hear from tonight is the great honor of my life. To share space and mission with people who see so clearly, who speak truth to power, and fiercely defend human rights is a privilege and a blessing, and one I invite you to share. But first, let me hand it over to my comrade, mentor, and travel companion, head truth teller and organizer-in-chief. She is my sister in arms and the leader of this movement to meet the moment. It is my honor to turn it over to one of the great leaders of the resistance, Dr. Jill Stein.
Thank you so very much, Kelly. Are you hearing me okay? Great. Okay. All right, good. And it is such an honor to be here with these amazing activists from so many different elements of struggle, so many different front lines of struggle. Together, we are even more than the sum of our parts. And we are an absolutely unstoppable movement in this unprecedented crisis where we are fighting genocide, we are fighting empire, we are fighting endless war, we are fighting the war at home as well, a war on working people, and a war on our democracy and rising fascism. So there is more reason than ever for us to be fighting our fights and to fight them together, because divided we are conquered, but together we are really quite unstoppable. And I just want to say what an incredibly special moment this is. And we are feeling so extremely excited about the newest member of the team here, who we will announce momentarily, who has just joined us And we are so powered up by what this person is going to bring to the movement and to our campaign in particular. We'll go into that just before that person is introduced. But for now, I just want to underscore what a really, really powerful moment this is right now, because we are seeing empire really doubling down. We're seeing genocide really going completely off the rails here with what has been an attack on a school basically every other day since July. Some 200 schools now, which are essentially refugee centers, are being absolutely pulverized. We are on the brink of an expanding war. The US and its criminal warmongering administration is basically asking or telling, shall we say, Iran and Hezbollah, exercise restraint. But where's that restraint when it comes to the state of Israel in its incredibly full-blown genocide and its chronic and recurring efforts to expand this war? So we are not seeing any signs that this is going to stop or this is going to somehow be contained. So our role here is so critical. From the outset, we have really centered genocide in our campaign because it is the moral imperative of the moment and because it is the microcosm really of empire. It is the microcosm of empire, and it is where we are going. So as we say, as Gaza goes, we all go. And it is so absolutely critical that we mobilize and that we not be silenced and that we not be intimidated. And as Malcolm X had said, the fox is actually a much greater threat than the wolf because the fox has a smile on its face and pretends to be your friend. And we are seeing, currently the Democrats pulling out all the stops to try to nip this movement in the bud and to try to distract, to try to create a spoiler mindset. And to that we say, there is no greater threat, there is no greater sign of fascism than genocide, which we are seeing rolling out before our very eyes in the worst fashion imaginable right now with our tax dollars and against public will, with US diplomatic cover, with US intelligence support and financing. So this is just an intolerable situation. It's really important that we stay the course, that we keep up the fight. There will be efforts to buy people off, to buy off support. Just today, we saw the Harris administration come out with so-called progressive policies, but where have those progressive policies been for the last 4 years that the Harris Biden administration has been in effect? And I just want to remind people we had Obama mania, and we saw where that led. Now we have Kamala mania, and we need to be reminding people that words are one thing, but there's a whole track record of actions right now, and we are not seeing any retrenchment whatsoever from the genocide that continues to absolutely spin out of control, potentially towards a much wider war in the Middle East. So I just want to thank everyone here for having the wisdom and the knowledge to fight this battle, which can only be fought by us. The powers that be are not going to do it for us. So we are the ones we've been waiting for. We say no to not the lesser evil, we say no to two greater evils, and we are here to fight for the greater good. So with that, I'd like to open up to the incredible spokespeople who are here, and no one better to kick this off than my former running mate and continuing comrade in struggle that I have learned so much from, who I am just delighted can be here tonight with us. So take it away, Ajamu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill. And thank everyone for being here tonight. It is indeed my honor to be here, standing again, shoulder to shoulder with Jill Stein, who I see as one of the greatest leaders we've seen in the last few decades. Jill is serious. She's serious because this is also a very serious moment. And it requires the kind of seriousness and attention and dedication that Jill Stein embodies. we've seen with our eyes the kind of challenges that we are facing, the barbarity unfolding every day in Gaza, the expanding war in West Asia, the so-called Middle East, the expanding war in Ukraine, the growing domestic repression. Um, and we understand that if we are not able to mount an effective fight back, then we will be rolled over by the forces of backwardness, the forces of fascism. This campaign, this moment, is part of that fight back, building the structures and institutions that galvanize the power of the people is what this campaign has to be about. This is a campaign that recognizes that why it's vitally important that we demonstrate where we stand in terms of our values and our principles, how we vote. It also is a campaign whose message is saying that we have to be organized. We've got to recognize the protracted nature of this struggle that we are involved in. Just this struggle for transformative politics, to transform ourselves and the structures that oppress all of us. So this serious moment requires serious support. I stand shoulder to shoulder once again with this campaign and with everyone who understands what our historic tasks and responsibilities are. So let's organize ourselves. Let's build this campaign. Let's build an effective, authentic, radical movement here in this country. And let's not let anybody tell us that we can't win. We are involved in a war, but a war that we are going to struggle. And in fact, we are going to win. History is indeed on our side. And this campaign is a manifestation of the kind of energy and vision that it will take to take us over the winning line. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jill, for your courageousness, your dedication. Thank everybody who is part of the team, and thank everyone who's here this evening who understand the absolute importance of us building this campaign and building an effective revolutionary process here in this country.
Susan, you're on.
Hi, my name is Susan Abulhawa. It's my honor to speak in support of Dr. Jill Stein for President of the United States because she is the only anti-war, anti-racism candidate backed by a political party who has been unequivocal in her support for Palestinian rights, for indigenous rights, for workers' rights, and for the rights of non-human nations as well. I don't need to tell you what's happening in Palestine, Gaza in particular, nor do I need to tell you what they're doing to those of us here who dare to speak up and speak out, like our brave students. But our community is in deep pain and despair and confusion as they think they have to choose between two major candidates, both of whom are signaling that they will continue to fund our genocide and become the genociders in chief. I've been reading a lot lately about the Russian Revolution. Prior to that fateful toppling of the 400-year reign of czars, there was a failed revolt called the Decembrists. One of their leaders, a poet by the name of Kondraty Rylev, said this before he was hanged by the Tsar, quote, "The strategy of revolution can be summarized in two words: to dare. To dare. I'm asking everyone to dare to take off your two-party chains. You have the key to reject both of these parties, and it's really that simple. If you dare. To dare to have the audacity to insist on the world that we want and to fight for it, or at a minimum, to vote for it against the powerful forces that are actively working to sabotage and pervert life itself for no other reason than their desire to consolidate more and more power and wealth. So dare to imagine Dr. Jill Stein as the President of the United States. She is the only candidate we have who makes any sense. Thank you for including me in this historic moment. I believe it will be remembered as a historic moment, Dr. Stein.
Susan, that was beautiful. I'm Medea Benjamin with the Peace Group Code Pink, but I speak as an individual tonight to support Jill and the way that Jill has put herself out there under such tremendous pressure to give us a real alternative. I live in Washington, D.C., and I'm surrounded by the richest counties in this country, in Virginia. Why are they so rich? Because they get money from Pentagon contracts. And every one of you on this call, if you live in the United States, in your district, there is some piece of some horrible weapon that's being made to try to tie us all into this war economy. And then when I'm in Congress, where I walk the halls almost every single day, I see the influence of the military industrial complex lobbyists. They have more lobbyists than there are members of Congress. And then when it comes to Israel, you see the influence of AIPAC, the influence of the Christians United for Israel, the influence of all these outside forces that mean that we don't have a democracy in this country. We don't have free and fair elections. When our elections are so corrupted by the money in politics, you can't possibly call them fair. And so when I see that so many people in this country want a ceasefire, and yet we can't get that in Congress, when today, this week, the administration announced $20 billion in more in weapon sales to Israel, and that we can't find one member of Congress to stand up and say no and introduce what's called a joint resolution of disapproval, you see how insane this system is, and that we are tied to this sadistic, cruel, horrific government in Israel, and all we get from the two parties is a unconditional support for Israel and maybe some words of sympathy for the Palestinians that are being slaughtered every single day. We need and deserve an alternative, and that's why we need Jill Stein. That's why we need the Green Party, and that's why I'm so excited and honored to be part of this event tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Medea. That was great. Mikridaman Chin Kiyohe, Nahom Pipise, Mima Crystal. Hello, it is an honor to be here. Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Crystal Cavalier, and I was excited to meet Dr. Jill Stein when she came to Eden, North Carolina for our water walk in February. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Okanichi Band of the Saponi Nation, and I reside here in SoCal, North Carolina. I'm a water protector and human rights activist, and I've been fighting against this Mountain Valley pipeline for the last 6 years. And Dr. Stein came out and she prayed with us. We also are fighting for our sacred places here in North Carolina and the United States as Indigenous people. But here in the Southeast, we are fighting the invisibility of our nations on this coast, as we are still first contact tribes. After running for Congress in 2022, I realized that the two-party system is only out for the corporations, and that people who are loyal to that level of comfortability that corporations and the colonial government allows them to have. The biggest corporate agendas are extraction and war. By enabling and displacement and low healthcare access and education. But Dr. Jill Stein, she stands for us all. Many people will vote based on class or identity politics, which is terrible. But I believe that most people vote against their best interests. And that is why we need to prioritize Mother Earth's health, our fellow living beings' health, because now as we are going, the system favors economics, political, society, and nature, and it needs to be reversed. Until we align our values with nature, we will continue on this race to extinction. But this is why the Green Party and Dr. Jill Stein is gaining momentum. We must be sustainable and protect what is most sacred to us, especially our two-legged people. So thank you, Dr. Jill Stein, for stepping up. And I'm so excited to hear the new addition to the team, and I'm excited to see what you accomplish. Alewa.
Hi, everybody. It's my honor to serve as the Stein campaign's campaign manager. My name is Jason Call, former congressional candidate in Washington State. And I'm here to do the shakedown part of this, but I do want you to understand what the Green Party and the Stein campaign is up against in this election cycle. Right now, we are fighting no fewer than 5 different challenges to our ballot status in Nevada, in Indiana, in New York, in Georgia, and I forgot the last one. Now in Wisconsin, because it was the most recent one where the DNC is trying to push us off the ballot, places that we have rightly earned, and places where the ballot access requirements are so egregious as to be anti-democratic. So we are here not only to celebrate the announcement of our new vice presidential selection, who we are on the campaign absolutely thrilled about, but also to raise some money for this campaign. These legal challenges do take funds. As we know, the FEC has withheld our matching funds, which has impeded us along the way. And I'm just going to put out there the big number, if you want to max out to the campaign, is $3,300 for the general election. But we are grateful for any contribution that comes our way. Campaigns, we would love to have publicly funded campaigns and ranked choice voting. But right now, we're stuck with the system that we're in, and we need to raise money from private donations. So I'm not going to make the pitch any longer than that. Whatever you can give to the campaign right now, Georgia will drop the link in the chat, and if you can, or just go to the website and help the campaign out. We need to run an effective campaign down the stretch to November. I appreciate everybody's time and contribution. Thank you so much.
Hey, my friends. I'm Nick from Revolutionary Blackout Network, citizen journalist, activist, and I am fighting to build an international coalition against imperialism, which is why I actually appreciate that Jill Stein centers foreign policy, because I really need Americans to understand that we are taxpayers and we live in the most violent empire in modern human history. So as someone who lived in said empire, our main focus should be foreign policy. And Jill Stein is running to be the leader of the executive branch. So if you're going to run as a president, as a left candidate, your focus must be on the war machine, or you are not serious. Our focus as Americans should be on the war machine. On Revolutionary Blackout, I talk to people from all over the world. I just hosted a Black Palestinian Solidarity Summit with Palestinians in multiple countries. I had journalists from China, had journalists from Russia and the UK and Brazil. I talked to people from all over the world. You know what they all say? They all say the main focus of the left in the United States should be challenging imperialism. If you have someone who is willing to serve the empire, if you have someone who's willing to sell out to the Israeli lobby, you have someone who won't fight for you. But most importantly, we must support third-party movements, and we must reject the duopoly, because my late great brother and mentor, Glenn Ford, himself said the Democratic Party is the most effective evil. So I had a Palestinian Black American Solidarity Roundtable. You know why that was necessary? That was necessary because Kamala Harris and K-Hive spread a psyop trying to start a race war between Black Americans and Palestinians in order to defend their genocidal girl boss, Kamala Harris. This here is an example of why the Democratic Party and liberalism is the most effective evil. This is the kind of propaganda that Republicans wish they could get away with. So liberalism is a threat. They are a wing of the empire. We must unite to defeat them. And you cannot support anyone who's supportive of the imperialist structure, period. Kamala Harris, when she was senator, voted to condemn the UN for illegal settlements in the West Bank. The Biden administration enables terrorism, and we got to speak truth to power and tell the truth that we can't have anyone that enables that. Thank you for having me on.
Jack, you're muted. Nada, while he works that out, could you bring on the next presenter?
Good evening, everyone. My name is James Fauntleroy. I am part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. It is so good to see all of you here this evening. A lot of people are talking about the duopoly. A lot of people on this panel have been accurately talking about what we are up against. But I would like to take a moment to tell you guys what we're fighting for. I think it's most important to talk about what you want to vote for, not just against. See, the Democratic Party is going to tell you, you have to vote against Trump. The Republican Party is going to tell you, you have to vote against Harris. Campaigns like the Dr. Jill Stein campaign will tell you what you need to vote for. Some of these things are including a $25 an hour minimum wage, things like a housing for all guarantee, a Green New Deal. These are some of the things. For those of us who are African descendants of slavery, this means a reparations policy based on lineage, a reparations policy that is actually based on giving us a debt that is owed. Those of us who are immigrants, a lot of us who are facing a lot of the policies that are tearing our home countries apart, these are policies that need to be ended so that we can be able to immigrate the way that in which that we would like to, instead of being ones that are immigrating under duress. There are so many things. Those of us who are LGBTQ, for not just for our rights, but also what about things like healthcare? Healthcare for everyone, not just access. That's a weasel word that we're always constantly told. So this is so important that we vote for the policies that actually will help us. Many of us are facing our family members who are locked up in prisons because of the carceral state and how it treats us disproportionately. Many of us are looking for not just racial justice, but we're looking for justice on a wider scale as far as what's going on in Gaza. We want those wars not only to end, but we also do not want our children who are being put out there through the military-industrial complex to be cannon fodder for the corporations. This is so important that we focus on what we're voting for. Those of you who are unions or in unions, there's expansion for unions. There's also an expansion for worker-owned companies. These are some of the policies that I think is deeply important to look at, because it's not just about what you're voting against. Also, make sure to focus on what you're voting for. And these are some of the wonderful policies that the Dr. Jill Stein has laid out.
Hello, everyone. Cheri Honkala here from the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign, also known as the Poor People's Army. I send lots of love to my former presidential campaign candidate that I ran with in 2012, Dr. Jill Stein. We are out here on the road We've marched from Milwaukee and we're marching 90 miles to Chicago. We're bringing a citizen's arrest for crimes against humanity. Poor and homeless people across this country have been criminalized. They can't sleep any place outside anymore. And we live in a country that has abundance. There's no reason for anybody to be homeless for a minute because we have more abandoned houses than we have homeless people. And we will be presenting on Monday at 4 p.m. At the convention center, citizens arrest for crimes against humanity on behalf of the poor here, as well as we are sickened and in solidarity with our poor sisters in Gaza who are also mothers and who have lost their children because of our taxpayer dollars. No, 7 generations to come depend on us leaving this domestic violent relationship with the Democratic and the Republican Party. We have to begin to vote green. And I'm excited that Jill is running again. And I'm excited about the new vice presidential candidate. And our children are relying upon us and our ancestors to do the right thing. So let's make sure we do the right thing in 2024.
Kelly, you're on.
I'm not sure why.
I think maybe, was it supposed to be me?
No, actually, it was Jack and we had some technical issues. Next up is Michael Hudson.
Okay, here I am.
Oh, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we just got to get you up on screen. Nada, can you
I have to wear my hat because there's a light in my eyes.
No worries. All right, now we can see you, Michael. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. I've been reading the papers and watching the news today, and the Democratic Party's figurehead economist Paul Krugman wrote in today's New York Times that Harris can win if she can convince voters that the economy is growing. Well, they did not believe that under President Biden. Why should they believe it under Harris? Well, the media news is all about how there's a new spirit, as if the choice is all about spirit, style, and campaign slogans. Obviously, I like Jill's style and spirit, but most of all, her content. Instead of just saying she's not Trump or she's not senile, the question is, what's Harris's policy compared to Jill's policy? And I think that Jill should ask Harris just what she's going to do differently from Biden, and if she's happy about what his policies have been doing, not only to the economy, but of course the military economy. I think she should be asked is, does she support her campaign donors or the interest of her voters? And the litmus test is, will she reappoint Lina Khan as an antitrust enforcer, or is she going to follow the demand of some of her largest campaign contributors not to reappoint Lina Khan and essentially to do what exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do, deregulate, open a free-for-all for the largest companies. And what does it really mean for the economy to get better? Most families, and certainly all of you who've spoken so far tonight, most families have fallen deeper into debt than they were 4 years ago. they feel squeezed, not by consumer prices alone, but by the fact that their rising interest rates and penalty fees have increased their credit card debt. And half the Americans are just running with the full credit card debt, the Fed reports. New graduates in school are so burdened by student debt that they can't qualify for mortgages to buy homes, so they're renting. And rental rates have been going up because of the evictions and the whole disaster that President Obama caused after his bank bailout and a wave of evictions after 2008. Well, the question, of course, is more than the economy. It's whether Harris and others are going to support or oppose Biden's war in Ukraine and Israel. Ms. Harris says that she wants a ceasefire in Palestine. Well, in practical terms, this means no further dropping of American bombs supplied by the United States. Well, Harris actually showed that she wants to force a ceasefire and stop the genocide by stopping the bombs. If she really is serious, I want a ceasefire, say, I'm going to stop giving you the bombs that you're using to bomb the Palestinians. Nobody's made any attempt to say that that's what a ceasefire means in practice. And unless she stops supplying the bombs, she's supporting Netanyahu's theocratic state. I think Jill, the reason I'm supporting Jill and my colleagues who are on her team is because she's the only candidate who's willing to put the question so clearly. And we're on her economic team. She does have a detailed policy reform program, but obviously the most important pressing problem is her anti-war stance. And that's because the economy and the entire world political system is affected by the war that the Biden-Harris administration has supported and that Trump is threatening to escalate even further. So it really comes down to war is the policy key that affects all of the other policies that we're talking about. And that's why we're for Jill.
Hello, everybody. Jason Call, campaign manager once again. Thank you, Michael, and thanks to everybody who is speaking and will be speaking shortly. So I'm here to do the quick fundraising pitch again. I'm going to throw out there the maximum donation for the general election is $3,300. But as you know, any contribution to the campaign is welcomed, is appreciated. We're eternally grateful. This is a grassroots campaign. We cannot do this by good thoughts and good intentions alone. We do need grassroots donations. And I just want to make a note that 5 of the campaign, including our new VP who will be announced, are right here in the same house in Chicago where it is belting down rain so hard, and we just got a flash of lightning there that I wasn't sure people were going to be able to hear me. It was so loud. But campaign donations are appreciated. Georgia, our fundraising director, will drop the link in the chat, or you can go to the website. Please help us down the stretch to November. Your grassroots contributions are vitally important, and I will end it right there and turn it back over to our next speaker. Thank you.
Hi, may take yourself off mute?
Hello, everybody. I'm Jaime Gutierrez. This is Yasmin Cardona. I'm a civil rights attorney here in Southern California. I'm also defending many of the students that were arrested during the anti-genocide movements on the different campuses, from UCLA to Pomona College and to USC. We are involved with Jill and this campaign and the Green Party because we feel that the duopoly, the manipulation of the masses by the media it's just gone too far. And this continual genocide of the Palestinian people is unacceptable. I mean, the media is saying it's 40,000. We all know it's way more than that. Yet the United States continues to fund this war machine and pay the military industrial complex to feed Israel and its bloodlust. and we're sick and tired of it. And this isn't the first time the U.S. has been on the wrong side of history, and it all has to do with the military-industrial complex and their puppets. Frank Zappa said that politics in the United States is theater for the military-industrial complex, and he was exactly right on that front and on many fronts. Jill's agenda, everything that Jill is speaking about across the board affects our community, from housing to healthcare to education, to student loans to immigration. These are all things that are affecting people on a very real and tangible level. This isn't a competition for celebrity. This is about real issues with real people being affected. And that's why we support Jill. And we want to encourage all our friends to spread the good word, to get the word out there that the Verde Party, the Green Party, is where it's really at, is where people are going to have a voice and they're going to have somebody who's speaking and looking out for their interests. So we support the campaign. We're down here in Southern California. We're excited about the new vice president, the VP candidate, and what he has to bring. And so we're looking forward to the rest of this campaign. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jaime.
I have to find my Zoom link again. It always disappears on me. Hi, my name is Jacqui Luqman. I am an organizer in Washington, D.C. I am with Black Liberation Media and lots of other organizations, but I am here to talk to you for a couple of minutes about why I'm involved in the Jill Stein campaign. So let me tell you, I'm anti-capitalist, I'm anti-imperialist, I am anti-Zionist, I am anti-patriarchy, I am anti-homophobia, I am anti-xenophobia, I am anti-transphobia, I'm anti-ageism, I am anti-everything that makes it difficult for human beings to exist, live, and flourish anywhere and everywhere on this planet. I'm involved with the Jill Stein campaign because these are my values. The Democrats, more than the Republicans, will tell you that a vote for a third party is a wasted vote. It's a vote for Trump. First of all, that's not how math works. Second, that's not how voting works. You vote for the person you cast your ballot for. And I see people saying I'm voting for Jill Stein as a protest vote. I am going to implore you to stop saying that. Voting for Jill Stein is not a protest vote. Voting for Jill Stein is a vote for the country and the future that you want. That's what voting is supposed to be about, isn't it? That's what they tell us. It's all about democracy and what the people want. Well, if that's true, why is it that when we say we don't want to vote for either one of these corporate bought and controlled parties, that we're told you can't do that? You're going to mess things up. What can we mess up in a democracy by exercising rights that we're supposed to have? This psychological torture, this mental abuse that these two parties, but particularly the Democratic Party, imposes upon us because we want something better than what they have to offer. Because all they have to offer is more pandering to corporates. And if we paid attention to Harris's announcement of her economic plans today, you will see that she is going to pander to the corporations just like her boss did. Jill Stein will not do that. On any issue, domestic, international, social issues, war, Jill Stein and the Green Party have the people-centered human rights policies that we need, not just here, but around the world, to truly be free. It is a step toward human liberation from imperialism, capitalism, and war. That's why I'm involved with the Jill Stein campaign, not to cast a protest vote, but to vote for the future and the country and the world that we want and that we all deserve. You should do the same. Thank you.
You're muted, Jack.
I'm sorry, I'm having
No.
technical issues. My name is Jacqui Luqman, and I don't want to take much of everybody's time. I'm honored to be amongst each one of you, and I just want to focus on the most recent history and having met with Dr. Jill Stein recently here in Los Angeles. The most amazing part of meeting her is not only that she echoed the everything that makes us human, that makes us humane, that makes us. She's been echoing these things that I've been personally fighting for the last 20 years, for decades now. So I'm voting not just for myself, but a lot of our comrades and family members and neighbors are voting for Jill Stein because of who she is, because of the things that she can bring to our communities. And that from prison and police, abolition and reform to stopping the genocide that we're witnessing in Gaza. I look forward to be an active member of her team. I look forward to once in history to have an amazing, wonderful president of the United States. And thank you for your time.
Hello, not sure if you can hear me.
We gotcha.
Oh yeah. Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Samuel Brown Vasquez. I'm here from Avocado Heights. I'm with the Avocado Heights Vaqueras and Vaqueros. If you hear some roosters, it's from my backyard. We're in an agricultural and equestrian zone community in the San Gabriel Valley, but we're also right next to City of Industry, which is a large industrial corridor, essentially a mafia city. That is not responsible for the public health consequences of the contamination that they produce in this community. And I am fortunate enough to have met Jill Stein, who came to visit us and learn about the community struggles against the lead battery smelter, the last one on the West Coast. And it's only one of 12 lead battery smelters here in the United States. But the parent company that owns this lead battery smelter has, another 20 lead smelters around the world, most of them in Europe, and a lead mine that they, a mine in South Africa where they extract the lead. And, one of the concerns we've been talking about is, you cannot have a lead battery recycling facility that also produces hazardous waste so close to residential properties. And what will it take for our government regulatory agencies to come in for a serial non-complier to actually look out and protect our public health? And that's where I am voting for Jill Stein, because I believe that she is taking the steps to educate people along the campaign trail that is absolutely unacceptable, that any risk threshold allows for people to develop cancer over a period of time just from living in the place where they were born. And so I call this place home. I love this community. It's an amazing community. We got the La Puente City Council to pass a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza. And we're really working to, build a coalition across the county so that, Los Angeles could be a cleaner, safer place. But we also fundamentally believe that, we all have a right to live in the place that we do and to drink clean water, breathe clean air, and to have access to clean soil. Thank you guys so much. I'll be voting for Jill Stein.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenan Matari. I'm a Palestinian writer, storyteller, and producer. It's an honor to be here with you tonight at another virtual rally. I'm so impressed with how Dr. Stein's campaign has been taken off and has been gaining momentum. I tell this story every time that I'm here, but for anybody who's new, I'm a first-generation born and raised American to my Palestinian family. My grandfather is a Nakba refugee. My family is living in exile here in the States, and we've made it home despite the obstacles that are set up for Palestinian and Muslim families here in the US. I was raised to believe that my vote holds power, that it is a privilege to have the ability to vote in this country, but that I would never have the opportunity to vote for a candidate that was good for the United States and for Palestine. And then I learned about Dr. Jill Stein. I learned that this binary system we're stuck in an abusive relationship with is something that I can actively and proudly choose to walk away from. I learned that after the last 3 elections of reluctantly voting for horrible, horrible people, that voting my conscience is an option. And for the first time in my personal voting history, I am choosing to do that. I'm voting my conscience for the candidate who is not enacting a genocide, who is not endorsing a genocide, nor is she dangling a genocide over our heads to entrap our votes. She doesn't shut down protesters who are demanding their elected officials end a genocide that we are funding. She joins them. She doesn't silence Indigenous voices. She amplifies them. She doesn't want to join in on the exploitation of our planet. She wants to help us protect it. Life is unaffordable, and it is barely livable these days for so many. We have to acknowledge the role that empire plays in constructing that, the role that it plays in making our world seemingly insufferable, and we have to believe that we deserve better. So it's time that we break up with the two-party system, that we all take a breath, not fall into the trap of community fighting that the system has so strategically put in place when they put a brown and black face on white supremacy just a few weeks ago, and remember that we have another option. Not a lesser evil option, a good option, and it's an option that we deserve. So let's keep pushing this campaign forward and show this world that we can do what they are asking of us, that we can make history, and that we can choose a good president for us and for the world. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for being a part of this revolution.
Okay, I want to explain why I'm supporting Jill Stein, but first I want to explain to you why you should leave the two-party system. I want to explain the failures that have come from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Both parties have failed to fight for the workers. We've seen this has been the case also with the Democrats. Look at what they did to the railroad workers that were trying to go on strike. Both parties have failed to give everyone health care. They're now using this term called access. Both parties have failed with climate responsibility. We can also talk about the pipelines that have been put through. Both parties have failed with a living wage, not just the minimum wage. Both parties have failed with housing. Both parties have failed to stop expanding the police state. I want to remind everyone that both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party support cop cities. Both parties have failed to give any type of repair to descendants of slavery in this country. And I want to remind you that while Kamala Harris tells you that we should do a study on it, and studies have already been done, and it's been documented, that Jill Stein actually has a reparations platform as a part of her campaign. And both parties have failed to hold Israel accountable. This is why you need to leave the two-party system. So over the past few years, I've watched Democrats co-opt and water down what it means to be a progressive. All of a sudden, Medicare for all turned into access to health care. You see this happening right now with Kamala Harris's campaign. Now, all of a sudden, she's being touted as some brave progressive when Kamala Harris has basically taken progressive policies and she's watered them down from what they originally were supposed to be under the Bernie Sanders campaigns. Jill Stein hasn't watered down her policy positions. She's been consistent on the issues over the years. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have flip-flopped on the issues, whether it's going after the deep state, whether it's approving of Medicare for all, whether it's approving of banning fracking. Both parties have done this. It's time to leave the two-party system, and I think the best person that you should do that with is with Jill Stein, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabby. I just want to note how humbling it is to be in a room with so many people who are speaking so much truth and have a vision for we can do so much better in this country and for this world. You know, we've got a room here of people who have put the work in for years and years and years to try and make that happen. It's just an honor to have everybody in here coming out in support of Dr. Jill Stein and the campaign. And we have so much work to do down the stretch to November. And on that note, you know, I hate to bring money into it, but that's my job here right now, is to remind everybody that this is a fundraiser. I want everybody to look for Rose Roby in the chat. She's going to be dropping the link to the donations, and you can go to the website jillstein2024.com. If you're unable to donate today but are able to donate at some point in the future, please go to the website and check out the donate link. Also notice our merchandise. We do have merchandise on the website. Buy a t-shirt, buy some bumper stickers, get a yard sign. All of that is support for the campaign, and you know, free advertising for us. We love to have people wear our campaign t-shirts out there. So we have some more speakers coming up here before we get to our VP announcement, which we're so excited for. But I just want to remind everybody that this is also a fundraiser, and we do need some big money to get us down the stretch in November. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much.
Hey, Minister, you're muted.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love. All power to the people, for sure, for sure. I definitely appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate the opportunity to be here before this majestic panel or whatnot. And I'm going to let you know why I'm supporting Jill Stein. Jill Stein has definitely won me over. You know, I'm not the best person to win over because I don't trust nothing. I'm going to be honest with you. I speak truth to power all day. I shut down politicians everywhere I go. And if they're not for the people, we're going to make sure that they need to understand that the people have rights, and we're going to force that through. That makes sense to everybody. But we're talking about this dual thing. And one thing that I've recognized is that both the Republican Party as well as the Democratic Party has never really been for the people. They've only been for the corporation. That is America. They've only done things and maneuvers to only make sure that they secure the bottom line. And we always talk about empire and things like that. Well, when I'm looking at a regime that is in place, that is there supposed to be for the people, but everything they do is anti-people, that tells me everything I need to know about these people. The Democrats, the early inception of the KKKs came from there. The Republicans, same thing. All of these things are racist regimes that has nothing to do with people or the values of people or the needs of the people or anything like that. They're all about corporation. That's why they're funding wars, they're funding terror, they're trying to take land, they are taking land, they're occupying different forces, they're stripping all of the resources out of the neighborhoods, they're steady taxing the American people more and more and more. Gas prices are soaring, even if they fluctuate. The bottom line is that we don't have a say-so in the war that we're fighting right now. And we don't have a say-so in them stopping the war. I haven't heard either candidate commit to ending the war or anything having to do with people. It's all about, I'm going to cut taxes for you. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. All about the corporation. Jill Stein is about the people. And everything that I've heard from her, all of her policies, I've studied them, I've watched them, I've looked at them. Every single one of them have the people out front first. Not the corporation, not the empire, not America and things like that. So I want to make it be known that we have a candidate here finally that's going to be a president for the people and not the corporation. And I think that's a breath of fresh air. And I want to do everything in my power to make sure that she gets into power. And whatever that takes, I'm with it. I'm 1000% 10 toes down with Jill Stein. I'm fond of the Green Party as well, but Jill, that's my girl. And we're going to rock this thing. So whatever I need to do, let me know. Peace and love to the people. All power to the people. Nothing like the power of the people.
I'm Kshama Sawant, socialist and former Seattle City Council member and co-founder of Workers Strike Back. There's a sharp contrast in this election. That sharp contrast is not between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Both Harris and Trump are warmongering representatives of the billionaires. Both Harris and Trump backed the genocidal war on Gaza to the hilt. So does RFK Jr. for that matter. Harris and Trump are not identical, but the real contrast is between all these candidates and Jill Stein. Jill Stein is unambiguously demanding an end to the genocidal war, to US military funding to Israel, and to the occupation. She's also calling for a $25 an hour minimum wage, Medicare for all, and free 4-year college for all. After a wishful rumor that Harris might be open to an arms embargo on Israel, her campaign promptly squashed it. Just in August, after Harris was crowned nominee, the Biden-Harris administration has approved over $23 billion more for the Israeli military, all while Harris is dancing on TikTok videos. In the last few weeks, Harris announced she no longer supports Medicare for all and that she no longer supports a fracking ban. Of course, she never really supported either, but the pretense has officially been canceled. While Harris and Walz run as cardboard cutouts and talk about joy, working people face a cost of living crisis where the price of bread has skyrocketed by 147%, alongside a climate catastrophe. It is precisely the ongoing betrayals of the Democrats that have led to the rise of the right wing and Trumpism. For the Palestinian people and for working people in the United States and around the world, Harris would just be a change of deck chairs on the Titanic. Workers Strike Back is hosting a rally with Jill at the DNC in person and over live stream on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Chicago time, August 20th. And we are calling for a mass organizing conference in February next year to take this movement forward. Solidarity.
All right. Well, hopefully you all can hear me. I am so honored and happy to be with all of you here today. I'm with you from Jordan, where in 48 hours, I'll be crossing the bridge to Palestine and going to Ramallah and Jerusalem to be with our people. My name is Amer Zahr. I'm a Palestinian-American comedian, lawyer, activist, and professor, and I am so honored to be here supporting Dr. Jill Stein and the Green Party. And this is not complicated. People try to overcomplicate things. This is not complicated. There is one candidate and one party that is talking about an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and talking about an arms embargo and talking about holding Israel accountable for its crimes in this genocide and all the crimes it has committed. The Democratic and Republican parties are not serving the people. They never have been. And so we have to be out there very clearly and standing up for our morals and what's right. I was a national surrogate for Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. And I saw how the Democratic Party operated to get him out, and he was nowhere near as progressive as the things that we're trying to push now. So we have to stand clear on our values and stand clear on what the issue is here. It's about creating a real future for America. The fight is going to go on. No matter what happens in all the elections that come forward, this fight has to continue to bring down this two-party system and to say that we are no longer going to stand for these choices that they put in front of us as if they're any different at all. We don't have to say other candidates' names. We just have to stand up for our values. And we don't have to fall into the trap of people making us feel bad for doing what's right. I'm a Palestinian. I come from the city of Nazareth. And so we learned a long time ago from one of our guys 2,000 years ago that you got to stand up for the truth no matter what. And that might mean you're lonely. But listen, if any of those people in history were here, they would be saying free Palestine. And so we have to make sure that we stand up for those traditions, for those values. And that means supporting the Green Party and supporting Jill Stein. And each of us have to be a part of that. That means widening our networks to make sure that more money is raised, widening our networks to make sure more votes are cast, and widening our networks to make sure the true values of what most Americans believe in are actually put out there. So I'm proud to support Jill Stein. I was proud to be considered to be a vice presidential nominee, and we have to move forward and keep going so that we can change America for the better, free Palestine. I love you all. I'm proud of you all. And like I say at every one of my comedy shows, we can't do it here, maybe, but maybe we can virtually do it, is look at the person next to you and tell them thank you for coming. Look at them again and tell them I'm proud of you. Look at them one last time and tell them I love you, and we will win always.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stein. It's been an honor, actually, working with you. I'm a Palestinian American, originally from Gaza. And It's an honor to stand before you as a Palestinian American committed to justice and to the cause of my people. Our fight is not just for a land or a flag. It is for every existence of our humanity. The right to live in peace for a future generation to come. The liberation of Palestinian or Palestine is the liberation of the US from the complicity of oppression, from the AIPAC grip, and from the militarization of our police. To achieve this, we must reject the crumbs thrown at us. Break free from the false choices, the lesser evils, and challenge the duopoly that has failed us for many years. Our road is very long, but remember, the Zionist movement began in 1897, taking it 20 years to secure the Balfour Declaration, and almost another 31 years for us to lose Palestine. Change takes time, but we must remain relentless, keep fighting, never give up. Under your leadership, Dr. Stein, we stand firm by the voice of countless allies. Our fight echoes the struggle of all who've been oppressed and who has been seek freedom from the oppressed. And it will lead us one day when Palestine flag waves freely and Gaza stand as symbol of resilience and rebirth. Together with allies like you, Dr. Stein, we will push forward, raise our voice, and demand the justice long overdue. We will stay strong and committed and fight for a future for all Palestinians and for a United States that is truly free and just for all. Thank you.
I think you're muted, Wissam.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be with you tonight, and the choice of Dr. Jill Stein is a very obvious choice. The latest survey of ADC of 47% of Arab Americans voting for Jill Stein, I think that is also the percentage of Arab Americans who knew Dr. Jill Stein. I feel it is a matter of knowing Dr. Jill Stein to make the choice of voting for it. And it's not only for Arab Americans, I feel also truly whoever would look at the platform that Dr. Jill Stein is running for and the platform of the Green Party and the situations that we're living in today, it is a very, very obvious choice. The problem that we are living is that our choice has been hijacked. The American people are hijacked. The will of the American people is hijacked. We have candidates, we have an office, we have Congress that functions in a way that's considered by other developed countries as criminal. We accept a type of corporate sponsorship and donations in politics in other countries is considered bribery and corruption. And this is our status quo. And corporations, they practice also an influence on media. Almost most of us here on the panel have been shadow banned somehow, one way or another, on social media. I was interviewed by New York Times about abandoned Biden movement, and I knew that they're going to edit and cut. So I made sure to mention Dr. Jill Stein numerously. I mentioned Dr. Jill Stein about 50 times in the interview, and they managed to cut and edit every single time that she disappeared totally from my narrative and the narrative of everyone who have been interviewed. There is an intentional, corrupt way that the duopoly is practicing. It is fascism, really, on American people. We as Arab Americans, we've been traumatized by the genocide taking place, and I think we share that feeling with every human being. There has never been a genocide that is had more recorded evidence in history, and there has never been a genocide that is denied more than this one. We have been almost 11 months through this, And that changed even without the situation in Gaza, without our world being on the brink of a nuclear disaster and a climate disaster. Without all that, we are in desperate need and an urgent need for breaking the duopoly and having a voice that represents the people. Imagine now with all the existential threats that we're living, and add to that a genocide that has been taking place over 300 days on our in front of our eyes and ears. I cannot stress enough that it is really a revolution of information, of breaking that cage that they placed us in, and delivering through this grassroots movement the true information to the people so they can see their benefit and the way out. Thank you very much.
I'm absolutely honored to be here tonight. I concur with everything everyone has already said. So I'm going to humanize this. I'm going to put a cherry on the top. I got a part of this campaign. I always look at who the people have around them. And that's a part of the way I judge the integrity and sincerity of a person. When I learned that Cheri Honkala ran with Jill Stein, the Poor People Army supported Jill Stein, I knew this was a very strong-willed person with integrity. When I found out that Ajamu Baraka ran with Jill Stein, I understood that she stood with the Black Liberation Movement unequivocally. When I met Jill Stein up in Chicago, and then again she came to the People's First Convention, she took a whole hour and a half to sit down and talk to me about a medical situation I was dealing with. An hour and a half, like I was a human being. You know what I mean? Sometimes we miss the human element of these individuals that's running for office. In this case, this is a person that I see as my comrade. She's a revolutionary. She's a part of this protracted struggle on the front lines with all the rest of us. And now to find out her VP pick is this individual right here, like, I know a lot of Black people was very happy when Barack Obama ran. And this was a mistake on their part. They didn't realize he was a neo-colonialist. We have to forgive our people sometimes when they don't have the political education to know who their real enemy is. But when I found out this person was running, and I watched a number of interviews, I had that same feeling that a lot of us felt when we was voting for this neo-colonialist named Barack Obama. You know what I mean? But this is a real person about our liberation struggle. I always say Black liberation always has to tend towards human liberation. And this individual has that intersectionality to connect with many different demographics in this community around the country. We're not just no movement that can possibly win. We're going to win. We're going to win. And we stand behind you, Jill Stein. It's a pleasure to have be on here with you. And all power to the people, boots on the ground.
Woo. All right. Wow, Kwame, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. I agree with Kwame that I agree with everyone and everything that you have said. I feel kind of speechless because I feel like you've just said it all way better than I ever could. And I am so honored and grateful to be on your team. And I do want to say that these voices that you've heard tonight are so incredibly powerful, and they bring us together, as Kwame was just alluding to. You know, there's so much power here as we own this fight. You know, it's a campaign, but it's a larger fight than a campaign. And we are going to win. Whether we are winning the day or winning the office, we are going to win. In fact, we're already winning right now, as you can see by who's in the room and who we are and what our networks are. We are a really powerful and unstoppable movement together. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, whether we win the office or we don't win the office, our work has only just begun. And whatever happens on November 5th, that is the springboard from where we go from here. Because whether we're in the White House or whether we're not in the White House, the empire and oligarchy and rising fascism are a very strong force. Even if we could stop the weapons right now, even if we could put a weapons boycott on Israel, we still have occupation and we still have apartheid and we still have, you know, the battleship, as Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense described it. Israel is the unsinkable battleship for the US in the Middle East. So fundamentally, this really is about empire. Empire is not different from our domestic policy because empire consumes our resources for healthcare and housing and education and getting out of debt and dealing with the climate and the whole thing. If we could just cut the military budget in half, if we could just tax the rich and ensure that they are starting to pay their fair share, and if we could implement Medicare for all, which saves us $500 billion a year at the same time that we expand healthcare coverage and cover everyone, we have all the resources we need to cover the entire agenda. So the struggle against empire is very much a struggle to shut down this war against working people here at home and the war against democracy. United, we are unstoppable. I am so, you know, really flattered. It is a badge of honor that the Democrats are quaking in their boots, that they are pulling out all their stops, that they have us dragging us into court in 5 states, really with frivolous lawsuits. And we are fighting them back. We've already beat them back, it looks like, in 2 of these states, and now they're filing their appeals because we're winning the day, and we will continue to win the day. And it's as simple as getting to the microphone. It's as simple as being heard, because we are of, by, and for the people. We can move the policies that people are absolutely desperate for healthcare as a human right, for housing for all as a human right, to end student debt and medical debt. You see Kamala Harris right now is trying to mimic many of our policies. That's really great. She's taking little bites out of them so that she can claim to be solving these problems. And of course she's not. And this is just words, and these are small pieces. You know, she's not talking about Medicare for all. She's talking about, oh, maybe they'll do more than 10 pharmaceuticals with bulk purchasing. You know, they say, oh, we're bringing down the price of pharmaceuticals because they're going to target 10 out of thousands, you know. So this is all about, you know, deception, manipulation, trying to goad people, you know, into another basically Obama mania. And we know where we went with that, you know, basically to Wall Street bailouts. Guantanamo was not closed down. Obama went from 2 wars to 7 wars, you know, more of the same. And same with Biden, and Harris has been right there with him. So this is all about asserting the power that we have. The American people are hurt and are badly hurting, and things are not getting better. They're only getting worse quickly. So the truth will have out. They are doing their best to silence us. They've hijacked our funding, our $300,000 to complete our ballot drives, which is why we're here tonight, among other reasons, to ask for your support. Please throw whatever you can into the hat, because we've got to do it ourselves. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We need to fund this. And if we're on the ballot, and we're still headed for ballot access for at least 90% of voters, maybe more than that. But by continuing this fight, they cannot shut us down, and the mainstream media cannot continue to lock us out once we are on the ballot across the country. And we are about to move from the ballot access phase into the actual field and outreach phase. And I'm very excited to mention tonight that we have this fabulous plan for a team effort for our VP, to have basically a slate of VPs, a power slate that would engage lots of the communities at risk and on the front lines. And at the end of the day, we could not make sure that the Democrats would not bring us into court and put an injunction against it. So, and basically knock us off the ballot. So what we're doing instead is launching our cabinet. And we will be working with many of the people who are here tonight to be a part of that cabinet so that we can give people a real foundation to stand on, provide you with the funding, and ensure that we have a real powerhouse outreach program. Like what you've heard tonight, this needs to be on all the airwaves, on all of the media channels, and in town halls across the country. So get ready, because what you've heard tonight is what's to come. This is what democracy looks like. This is what an unstoppable force looks like. And with that, I want to turn to the person that we are here to celebrate tonight. And it gives me such joy to introduce my running mate, our VP, who really represents so much of what we've been talking about tonight. And I consider it, kind of a nothing less than miraculous than that we got here. And I will say a few things about our candidate in a moment, but I want you to know that this happened at the speed of light, really at the speed of justice, at the speed of miracles is kind of how this happened. We got together because Mark Alberno, one of our senior advisors and guardian angels on this campaign, who you heard from a little earlier, had heard an Instagram video that our candidate put out there, which was so powerful. And so Mark got in touch with him and said, would you please interview me? And so this was like earlier this week, because we had wonderful candidates, but because we have always centered genocide, we really wanted a leading voice who is very directly connected with the genocide. So we had this interview, and it was really quite electric, and it felt like we were, totally on the same page, that our lives have brought us to this moment, have really prepared us for this struggle. And so I am basically now referring to Dr. Butch Ware, who is a truly remarkable person. And he has been, I'm looking for his bio here, but I will just say it here. He has been a lifelong activist and an educator, specializing in the history of, guess what? Empire, colonialism, genocide, and revolution. And for the past several decades, he is a scholar, he is a professor at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and he has basically come from very oppressed circumstances and found his way through that. Much credit to Malcolm X and his discovery of Malcolm X at the age of 15, who guided his way forward. And he was able to overcome incredible obstacles and hurdles, and basically study this material that he brings to us. I feel like I've learned so much just in my conversations with him and watching his material over the course of this last week, because genocide is very much in focus. Empire is very much in focus. Imperialism and colonialism are very much in focus. That is exactly what is going on right now in this war against Gaza, and in the war, the flip side, the war of the empire here at home as well. And to be able to see this, to have a glimpse of kind of this as part of the life cycles of empire, and how this empire that we struggle with right now is in its dying days, how it is doubling down because it knows that its days are numbered, and how we effectively struggle against that, And as others have mentioned, this is not only about connecting the dots here, the many communities of struggle here domestically, it's also about connecting the many communities of struggle around the world, because the US is the empire that is making mincemeat out of the rest of the world and, really wreaking havoc on the rest of the world as it impoverishes and endangers us here in this country and all around the world. We could rail against imperialism and the US empire at great length right now, but I'm going to resist that urge because I really want to turn it over to Butch to just let us start hearing from him. He has so much to say and so much to contribute to our moment. This really is a man for the moment and a man for the movement. And, this is the moment to really go big on this movement, which so many people are so hungry for. And I'm just so thankful that we have found our way into your life. And the last thing I'm going to say is that actually it was Mark Albarno. We were talking about Butch the day after this interview, and suddenly the team was like, oh my God, we've got to see what he's up to. Would he consider running for VP on rather short notice? Mark brought him onto a call without any prep, not even knowing what he was getting into. And I sort of pitched to him, have you considered, you're perfectly poised, and you bring a whole lot of resources to this discussion and to kind of this teachable moment that we are in here as a country and around the world. You bring a lot to this. Have you ever considered running for vice president? And we have a deadline 2 days from now. So what do you think about that? And his response was basically that as a man of faith, he could not imagine turning this down without giving it a really serious thought. And he was going to take that home and think on it and pray on it in his tradition, and that we would talk the next day. So the next day we talked quite a bit, and the more we talked, the more it seemed like this is just the magic of the moment, and I feel like it's manna from heaven, actually, and up and away. So with that, I just really want to thank Butch so much for being willing to completely turn his life around in the course of 24 hours. And he flew out here, with like less than a day's notice. He imported his family to help with his childcare and turned up in Chicago so that we could do this together and then do the convention tomorrow. So this is just moving at the speed of light. This is moving at the speed of justice. This is moving at the speed of revolution and the transformation whose time has come. So take it away, Professor Butch Ware.
Bismillah. No, don't let Jill go off screen just yet. I'm going to tell just my version of when I knew that Jill Stein was the candidate for me. And it was when she said the words, cash reparations and dismantle the empire. My sister, you had me at hello. And I'm gonna tell you right now that if you followed me on social media, many of y'all may not know who I am. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself, but if you follow me on social media, then you know that I did not get into this fight to be no spoiler. We are going to shock the world, and we are going to hit them hard. I taught for 10 years at the University of Michigan, and I'm going to batter them in Michigan. I got my PhD from the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to batter them in Pennsylvania. We are going to hit them with a 1-2 punch that they ain't never seen. So I just wanted to hold you on screen to see your face when I told you that that was the moment that I knew. And now I'll just say a few words, and we'll start there. If you are gathered in this room right now, within the sound of my voice, if you watch a recording of it later, and you are sympathetic to all of the things that have been said in this room, it means that your heart is alive and awake, and you have compassion and empathy for the suffering of our brothers and sisters in humanity in Palestine. And you know that we do not need an agent of the carceral state and another white supremacist in blackface serving at the head of this empire. We need actual structural change. And in order for us to achieve that, we are going to need to fight. So I'm not here as a spoiler. We will fight them. We will make them desist in their oppression. We are at the dawning of a new era. Scales have fallen off the eyes in these last 10 months. People now perceive what American empire actually is, the way that it exports war, torment, suffering, brutality, and bloodshed to every corner of the globe, and then turns around and unleashes it on its citizens here in the United States. The empire abroad brutalizes us here at home. So we have no choice left to fight. Never in my life did I aspire to a political position. I am a scholar and I am a teacher. I've studied revolutionary movements and struggles, but I know this, that if I'm called into a fight, the fight for the struggle for freedom in our time, I am not going to back down from that fight. So you call on me and I come, and I'm at the service of everyone in this room. The Green Party is at the service of everyone in this room. We are here to win this fight, not to play games with these people. Muhammad Ali didn't go into the ring against Sonny Liston talking about being a spoiler. And the Black Muslim tradition that raised me, the Muhammad Alis of the world, the Malcolm X's of the world, were not about backing down from fights. Malcolm said, never let your enemy give you the measure of your possibilities for victory. Only a fool lets their enemy teach them. Only a fool. So for those of you who know me, you knew what I was going to say off the top. And for those of you who are getting to know me for the first time now, I'll just say a few words about my own story. A few, because the important part is just that you start to get to know me. I am at best a weapon in the hands of a merciful God, and we are going to fight right now. This isn't about me, but you need to get to know me. I was born the son of a locksmith with a 6th grade education and a teenage mother who was pregnant at the age of 15 and told to abort me before my birth by her high school guidance counselor. I never lived at the same street address for a calendar year until I was 8 years old, staying with relatives, couches, sometimes cars, sometimes battered women's shelter. I saw the cold, hard face of what systems of white supremacy and racial oppression can do to people. And this was in Chocolate City, Washington, D.C., the town of my birth, back before gentrification. It was 95% Black at that time. And I won't go into more details about the struggle. I'll start to tell you the story of what brought me to this venue today. As Jill mentioned, when I was 15 years old, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I read it cover to cover in one night. I couldn't put it down because Malcolm had been in such dark places, and look at what God lifted him to. Look at the inspiration that he has become, the Black radical struggle, the freedom struggle. Look at the universalism that he embraced at the end of his life. I wanted what Malcolm had at the end of that book. And so this story is true. I stayed up the whole night. I went to the library at my school. I checked out an English translation of the Quran. I read that cover to cover the next night. I converted to Islam before the end of the week, and I started schooling myself on the resistance tradition. And Malcolm taught me many things about where we are in our current moment. He taught me that the white liberal is a fox. They bare their teeth, and you think that they're smiling at you, but they are there to eat, and you are on the menu. And we know this to be the case of vote blue no matter who, okay? And of the wolf, and we must keep this red wolf in our sights because their teeth are bare and ready to shred you at any moment. Our fight is with them too. The Dems fear us most, but we will take from MAGA because when we bring a real working class agenda to the public light, in a way that is communicated with clarity, the way that the Panthers did, the way that Huey Newton did, the way that Bobby Seale did, the people will respond. We are not leaving those votes on the table. We're not leaving those votes on the table. So he taught me how to read this, and that the duopoly is not the answer. We need another way. These purple fascists, because there's no difference between the red and the blue anymore. It's just purple fascism. Okay, they don't respond to anything except for a fight, so we will give them a fight in the tradition of Malcolm. Malcolm started my journey to become a historian of Africa because he told me to seek out knowledge of self and to go back to my roots. And I spent my teaching life studying the revolutionary resistance tradition on the African continent and in the diaspora, studying the spiritual traditions of my African ancestors, of Islam, of the indigenous traditions, because as it happens with many African Americans, both of my father's grandmothers are also part indigenous. This is our land too. And many people forget that, and we are willing to stand and fight for it. Land back. Can I get a witness from the congregation? Y'all can't clap. I mean, do something. Raise your hand, snap your fingers. Say words, son, let's go. So all of this is to say that we are going to bring this fight to them on all fronts, and we are not backing down from this fight. So Malcolm educated me on how to become an educator, and now I'm trying to bring those lessons from successful revolutions in the past and the struggle against white supremacy in Africa and in the diaspora and in South Asia and in Latin America, and we are going to do a lesson in applied education. We are going to put this knowledge to work because Jill Stein is the leader that we need in this time, and I am riding shotgun for my sister. Just watch. Last thing that I will say before I go on any further, because if you do follow me on social media, you know I can be mad long-winded sometime. I'm going to try to keep this brief. They told me 7 minutes, and I know I'm past them 7 minutes already right now. It is not, as our brother reminded us earlier, I think it was JB that mentioned this, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it is not so much about what we are fighting against, but it is about what we are fighting for. The other side uses a politics of fear. We use a politics of abundance. We have everything in our capacities to give humanity what it needs. If we dismantle this empire and put its vast resources in the service of its people, we can become a guiding light for humanity. We can make it live up to the promises that it made and has broken so many times. I would not have asked for this job, but I was not going back down from this fight. So I submit myself to you today, humbly for service, because y'all have been building this movement. I'm coming in late. I'm not a politician. I'm a scholar. Teach me, but you will find me a willing warrior with resolve in the cause of liberation. Peace and blessings to all of you.
So I think you can see why we really needed to seize this moment and just make this team happen. And Butch, I am just so grateful that you're here. It feels like you're such a gift, and we're going to put you to work, and we're going to win this thing, and we are going to turn the empire upside down. It's just not going to know what hit it. So I am just so grateful, really grateful to everyone who's here, and, you know, appealing to you again to contribute what you can, ask your friends to contribute, help us put resources behind this unbelievably powerhouse VP candidate that we have. We are ready to hit the road. We are ready to go strong. We are also ready to put many of the people in the room here out on the trail as our cabinet, as our vehicles, as our outreach team. We are absolutely unstoppable, and I'm so grateful to have Butch with us with his amazing, powerful voice, and to be in this together as a Muslim, African-American, and as a Jewish white woman. This is like a team made in heaven. I think we have so much to teach the world in this moment. They will have a very hard time. I mean, they will tear us down as they always do. This is nothing new, and they can't come up with anything new either. These are the same old, worn out fear campaigns that they've been running for a long time that have really run out of steam. So with your support, with your help, we are going to be absolutely unstoppable together. And I'm just so grateful to everyone here for having brought us to this moment where, it's like, look out world, here we all come. Thank you so very much. Back to you, Jason and
Yeah,
Kelly.
wow. I'm stunned. My heart is palpitating. I got my fist in the air the whole time. I saw you there, Kwame, also fist in the air the whole time. This is what we've been waiting for. That was the speech we all needed to hear to take us into the next phase of this campaign. Just amazing. I'm honored. I'm humbled to even be here in this space right now. So thank you. And the comments are just going wild. For anybody not here actually in the webinar right now, the comments are just absolutely going wild. So I noticed I saw somebody just say I'm in tears. I'm a little bit teary too, because I do feel like this is the moment that is going to take us into a better future. We are starting it right here and now. And I want to thank all of our wonderful speakers. Before we close out today, I'm going to remind everybody that this is a fundraiser. Now you know what you're given to. The whole package is here. Rose will drop the link. Go to the website. There is a special VP sticker, exclusive sticker. You can order that from the merch website today. Go to the shop part of the link of the campaign website, Jill Stein 2024. I want to make a couple of announcements. First, I want to note that on Tuesday at 6 p.m., Workers Strike Back with our friends Kshama Sawant and Nick Cruse they're going to be holding a rally 6 p.m. Please go to workersstrikeback.org and register for that rally. Those of us who are here in Chicago, which is, I wanted to say this. I had the distinct honor of getting to ride with Butch from Chicago O'Hare Airport, about 2 hours in Chicago traffic to get to the house that we're at right now. And just in our conversations, just instant kinship, I believe. This is just a perfect addition to this team. We are all about liberation and decolonization and dismantling empire and stopping this murderous genocide in Gaza. That is number one. So this is just such an amazing addition to the team. So again, please remember, this is a fundraiser. Please donate to help us down the stretch. Please sign up for Workers Strike Back. Please get your exclusive VP sticker. And there's one more thing. Oh, wow, Jill, I wanted to message this on the side. The case in Wisconsin has been dismissed. We are no longer under a legal challenge in Wisconsin. The election administrators in Wisconsin threw it out. It was meritless. We will be on the ballot in Wisconsin. And I'm not going to say anything more. That is a great note for me to end on. Thank everybody so much.
Thank you all so much. Have a blessed evening and good night.